TikTok, it's time to rock. Is this mic working?
Hey,
Is this
hey.
mic working? Testing, 1, 2, 3. Is this?
Who's Mike?
Is Andrew here? Is this Andrew R2D2 C3PO or Darth Vader? Who's
Da-
here?
Dav-
I don't know.
Davros. Andrew
Davros.
Walton.
Oh my Lord. We're here. We're here. We're here because we're celebrating not Brad's birthday, not my birthday, not the rock professor's birthday.
Soon. Just saying, soon.
Soon. So yeah. Actually, we're going to do a birthday show when he does turn 52.
It's 112. Yes.
Oh, okay. It's something like that. All right. Hey, it's my pleasure. It's my pleasure, everyone, to introduce you guys to the 5150 Sunday show. If you guys are watching us on replay, and evidently a lot of you do and enjoy what we do, what we present to you guys, we're always humbled by the support that we get by not only the people in the chat, but by the people who watch us. So thank you for just taking a little bit of time out of your lives and sharing what we do here, our passion, Brad, isn't it, with music and what we love. And if you guys can find some entertainment out of that, some information out of that, all the best to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we agree. So we've got a good show planned today, guys. You want to tell us all about it, Simon? You've picked this one, so you can tell everyone.
Well, first I've got to say I've been being lobbied by Arvin to do the Sex Pistols album. Apparently, I said to him, "Is it British and electric and blues?" And he said, "Well, it's two of them, so he'll allow it." He's been watching the Pistols thing on the Disney Channel. Seems somehow incongruous, doesn't it, to have a program about the Sex Pistols on Disney somehow.
I'll jump in there and offer a
why.
couple of comments. I've been watching it. I'm up to the 4th episode, and it's fascinating. It's interesting. I have to take my hat off to the producers because the actors and actresses that they have nailed their idiosyncratic. What's the word, Simon?
Idiosyncrasies.
Idiosyncrasies down to a
Jazz
T.
hands.
It's fantastic the way that they've done that. It's completely believable. Now, whether or not you believe the behind-the-scenes stories, well, that's open to interpretation. But Sid Vicious is on point. Johnny Rotten is on point. And Malcolm McLaren is just fantastic. I don't know if you guys have seen it, but I recommend it. For rock and roll historians like us, we got to check it out.
Arvin says, "Yes, I will allow it." Lovely, Arvin. Well done. It's perhaps there's quite a lot of people in the chat. I think I'll do a hello to people in the chat now, and we'll get into things. So good morning to Nelson Rodriguez, Tim Thomas, William Zhuang. Sorry, William, I'm butchering your name. I apologize. I think Zhuang. Tim Thomas, Emily McCarthy. Good morning, Emily. I don't recognise your name, so welcome to the channel. Gret Zeppelin. Morning, Gret. Morning, Jazz Thunder 50s. Jim. Morning, Jim. They're in Scotland. Holly Lewis. Good morning, Holly. How you doing? Hope you're good. Hope your hand is getting fixed soon. Arvin, as well, the arbiter of what should be on the channel or not. Keith Cabell. Morning, Keith. Hope you're good, man. Who else have we got? Nelson, Tim, Keith, Teresa, of course. Good morning, Teresa. How are you? From sunny Brazil. It's Oh, he's had a sick father. We hope your father's better, Teresa.
Yes.
And yeah, I hope he's getting better. I'm sorry to hear that. So we got something called Ellen Toll as well. I don't know who that is. Somebody new or something. So welcome, Ellen, to the show. I hope you enjoy it. So I think that's probably everybody. Hopefully, all these people in blue. It's confusing. So welcome everybody to the show. Today we are doing in honor of Sir Paul McCartney's 80th birthday, as it was. I think it was yesterday or the day before. We're doing Band on the Run. And my question, I hope, from last week that you all need to answer is it better to be a Sir or a member of the Beatles?
Well, I was checking that poll out. I was checking that poll out. I was keeping a constant eye on that on our community page, and I'll go and check that. But unfortunately, some plonker spoilt it and said that getting a knighthood. Yes, somebody voted. We had 22 votes, and 21 of you voted it was better for him to be a Beatle, but someone had to be contrary, and it's probably someone we know.
You're not saying.
No, not me. No. It's not me, and I'm not accusing any of my co-hosts, but it'll be someone in the chat.
Some rogue in the chat.
Some troublemaker.
Yeah, some troublemaker. So what? Sorry, what was the results of it again? 21 thought that
being a Beatle is more important than him getting a knighthood of the realm.
Is the correct answer. A lot of people got knighthoods, but only 4 people have ever been in the Beatles. Clearly a much greater honor, I feel, than than a knighthood. But today's bit of fun. This week we're doing.
Why would he want to get a knighthood when that who was that Mick Jagger got one, didn't he?
Sir Mick. Well, we're starting a petition. Knighthood for Keith. Knighthood for Keith.
Oh God.
Yes, the Keith. That's what we want.
If you've read his biography, there is absolutely no way that Keith Richards will accept the knighthood. Absolutely no way.
Which is why we should get him one offered.
Yeah.
You see, it's all very well to say it, Keith. Let's just test out your resolve when you actually get a letter saying you've been offered a knighthood. Come on, then.
Keith is fessed up. It was Keith.
Oh, it was Keith. See, Rogue One reported with duty. Keith.
Yeah. Look, I suppose one of the interesting things that I've been doing over the last couple of days, I caught up with Carl yesterday for a couple of hours, and we were having a bit of a chat. And we were talking about the same. The same. It just
the same. Carl
just has me in fits. The guy's just a natural comedian. He's just all over the place, and he does watch our shows too, guys. So we should do a shout out to Carl as well, because he was he does watch our shows, but. Just talking about Paul McCartney, turning 80, and I'm anticipating hanging out and talking about it with you guys as well and everyone else in the chat. But it just kind of hit home, didn't it? For me, for years and years, this guy was always in the back of your mind. He was always in the back of the music. He was always in the back of rock and roll history. Ever since I was born. He was, like you said, Simon. He was a Beatle. And they were around for, since Adam. And all of a sudden, the guy is turning 80. It's just phenomenal, Brad.
Yeah. I watched a little clip today when I was doing my homework this afternoon. And there's a recent clip of, I think it was from yesterday, a concert that he was doing, and John Bon Jovi comes out, sings "Happy Birthday" to him on stage, and then they did "Birthday" and "Helter Skelter." I saw those two songs from the performance. It's on it was on Facebook or something like that, no, Instagram, or I can't remember where I saw it, but probably YouTube when I think about it.
Yeah.
Anyway, my point being, he's still up there doing it. Obviously, he's an 80-year-old band singing Helter Skelter and Birthday. He's not finding those notes like he used to be able to, but he still gets there. And, you know, I mean, true testament to what music can do to someone. I think it keeps people young. And despite his age, he's still up there. He looks fit as a fiddle. He's moving around. He's playing that bass. You know, he's singing. He's got a killer band together. He's had that band lineup for a while, so they're well-oiled machine. And all credit to him. 80 years of age, and he's like a institution. Everyone goes to see Paul McCartney, you know, because he was a Beatle. Let's be honest, and I'm sure a lot of people love Paul McCartney's solo career as well, and the Wings. But I think for me, I'm going to answer and say I think I'd prefer to be a Beatle than Knighthood. You know,
according to Jazz Thunder 50, it's better to have been in the Wombles than have a Knighthood.
The Wombles of Wimbledon. Yeah.
Wimbledon Comedy. See,
yeah,
that's good. That's good. But,
yeah,
I agree. I think it's only 4 people can ever say they were in the Beatles, whereas lots of people could say they've had Knighthoods, can't they?
2 of them are sadly gone, so you know that's
well, yeah, absolutely. And,
also, guys, I just want to do a bit of a quick shout out to Liquid Charlie for joining us this morning. So Charlie,
thank you, Liquid Charlie.
That was a great episode. We had a few technical issues here and there and whatnot, but we weathered the storm. And for me, it was nice and early, 7:30 in the morning or before. Funny little story about that one, but yeah, we made the show on a little bit earlier, and that was fantastic. Thank you, Charlie, for joining us.
Yeah.
And thank you, bro.
Start off with Davros.
Yeah. Thank you, bro, for getting up early. So just to give you guys in the chat bit of an idea on how we organise things. So Brad was the first guy to point this out to us months and months ago, that when you go and set up an upcoming stream on YouTube, it gives you the start time in your day and your time.
Yeah.
So what we do here on this channel is that you may have noticed, if you see any previews that come up, I might say preview with an awesome guest coming up. And so what we do with that is that's the link that I send to the guests that we're talking about, and hopefully trying to get onto the show and say to them, look, this will be the date and the time that you said in the chat. That's going to work. Can you see that clearly? And they go, oh yeah, that's really, really good, you know, and that's fantastic. So we did that with Charlie, but you know, there was a bit of confusion there, I think, about because the 10 o'clock that we said here for us, you know, initially he thought was 10 p.m. start for him, didn't he, Brad?
No. 10 p.m. for him.
What was it? Was it actually 11? Was it or something, or 9?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got there. We got there in the end. And how many views on that show, gentlemen? 1,500.
Yeah. 1,500. Fantastic. Yeah.
We're doing really well with the after live views. Like, people are watching the shows later, which, you know, we still get a good viewing while we're doing the show, but that's a credit to everyone that's subscribed. They're checking out our channel and they're checking out each episode. So thank you very much. Really means a lot.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? Really cool. Whilst we're shouting out, we should shout out to Warren as well. We hope, Warren, not heard anything from you for a while. We hope you're okay and your treatment's going okay. And it'd be great to hear from you. let us know how you're getting on. But we think
sure.
of you and wish you well, and hope you're back soon, because that would be cool.
So, yeah, absolutely, bro, absolutely, and thank you for that, Simon. You know, we've got a lot of people, obviously, in the back of our minds that we're thinking about and that we talk about, and if we've missed anybody that you guys want us to do shout outs to, put them in the chat, and we'll do our best to highlight those comments. But this album, Simon, great pick. Can I just kick it off when I first became aware of this album, and then probably pass it on to you, Simon, and go to Brad. And obviously, if anybody else in the chat wants to contribute quick comments about your relationship with this album, again, we'll highlight those too. I discovered this album really, really early. Being a Beatles nut, you know, you were going to always, at some stage early on, tend to sort of put your tentacles out and grab on some of these other solo albums. And I remember grabbing this album, I think when Mull of Kintyre came out, Simon. When was Mull of Kintyre? 78, 79?
77, I think.
Okay, so it would have been 78. It would have been 78 or 79 when I first heard this album, Wings, and listened to it right through. There were a couple of interesting songs on the album that I didn't particularly like at the time, and we can talk about those as we go through and do the tracks, but there were certainly some crackers on this album, Brad, you know, some just rock and roll. And when you're a young guy getting into the rock and roll addiction, this was certainly an album that got me on board, and I appreciated Paul McCartney a lot when I heard this album. And then a couple of years later, it was McCartney 2, I think, with Coming Up as the lead single around 1980 or something like that, which hit the charts. And I've got to be honest with you guys, though, when I was a young guy listening to pop music back around those times, you know, when I was at high school or just starting high school. So, you know, I'm not 35. So if you guys work that out. So, sorry.
I'll say about 74. I'm going to...
Oh, you bastard. I'm going to be honest with you. Paul McCartney and Wings weren't cool. It wasn't a cool band with my friends. It was certainly Paul McCartney as an artist and Wings as an artist was something that only serious music fans acknowledge, Simon.
Yeah. That's true. Yeah. It's I think that's true. I think that then he wasn't really very cool. I mean, I think he, you know, when he left the Beatles, and you know, he'd done a couple of albums before. He'd done Ram, and then he'd done Wildlife and Red Rose Speedway. You know, I can remember Red Rose Speedway had, you know, Mary had a little lamb on it and stuff. It was quite sort of twee, and kind of, and not really grabbing what I would call the rock fans, you know, as in the same way as clearly stuff in the Beatles had, and so it wasn't interesting. I think I'd say the same thing. Actually, it wasn't necessarily very cool or very rock and roll, and I think that you know, there's a certain amount of you know, of him being a bit of a middle of the road artist. You know, by then.
I think there was a period though in the States though for a couple of years when Wings across America was pretty, you know, was pretty influential, wasn't it? But you know, when I was a young guy with my friends, he was never, you know, when no one spoke of Paul McCartney as, you know, being cool. But I think Wings Across America, which is a great live album, I think there was a little bit of a patch there, Simon, where he may have been pop culture.
Yeah, I think certainly pop culture, but I mean, if you think about that sort of period in the mid-70s, that there was a whole kind of sort of middle of the road rock kind of thing. If you think about Bread, the Carpenters, all those, there's a lot of West Coast bands that had that kind of, kind of mellowish vibe to them. That I think, was one of those things. Logging Messina. There's also, you can come up with lots of bands that kind of fitted that bill. Wings Over America is 76, so again, I think that that maybe sort of made some way to sort of redressing the balance a bit. But I think that's where a lot of music was in the mid 70s. It was that that kind of early 70s, late 60s stuff that we do a lot of on here. That kind of blues rock stuff had kind of progressed a bit and was.
Read Holly's comment. I think she encapsulates a lot in that comment.
What took a minute for him to catch up? Yeah, Holly, I think that's very true. That it took a minute to for him to catch up. I think that's right, and I think that his first album he did as a solo album, he just did it kind of on his own completely, played everything, and put it out as a kind of sort of DIY album. I'm thinking in a way that so people actually chimes as much now as it did then. That kind of very DIY, just recording it at home on a 4-track kind of thing and playing all the instruments himself. So that I think that sounds a lot more familiar now than maybe it did then. It's kind of clearly doing that is a kind of antithesis of the Beatles, isn't it? Of going into Abbey Road and recording and.
And that Greatest Hits is a great album. Yeah, you're right.
But I mean, he has a way like few others with a tune, McCartney, doesn't he? That's the thing about him. He has a way with a tune. That
for me though, this is his best. I'm going to go on record here on our channel and say. We all know that George Harrison's masterpiece that we've ranked over 3 mammoth shows, ladies and gentlemen. If you haven't checked that out, please go and do that, because it's a series that my co-host and I are very proud of producing for you guys. And we're unanimous on that being one of the greatest solo Beatles albums. In my opinion, this is pretty close to being number 2, Brad and Simon.
Yeah, I think All Things Must Pass is the best solo Beatles album by a distance. I think some of it, like Imagine, John Lennon, is a really good record. I think this is a really good record. I think not saying there weren't others that were really good. I think All Things Must Pass is the one though, and that all that log jam of songs that they turned down in rather a brusque manner and. From George, I think he stockpiled them all up and made it just a brilliant record. But I think there are others, sort of John Lennon. I think Imagine is up there as a contender for in this kind of era for being a really good solo album from the Beatles. I don't know much about the Ringo ones, to be honest. I'm not. I assume they're kind of fairly lightweight, sort of sing along sorts of things, like Ringo did. But I think initially he was the most commercially successful, Ringo. I don't think the others were as commercially successful as Ringo was after they split up. He released a couple of albums quite quickly. Photograph, I think, was and had a couple of hits and things, and it went well for him. George had with the Mahavishnu Orchestra. Holly, blimey, that's a
wow. That would have been amazing.
Check the ticket stub. John McLaughlin.
Yeah.
The Mahavishnu Orchestra, yeah. Could be. But I think this is by a distance McCartney's best solo album for sure.
Yep.
I think the first one, his first solo album, has a certain down home charm that I like as well. But I think this is his best, his best album. And interestingly, sort of made with his kind of him feeling like his back was against the wall a bit, which So I think it's quite a common theme when people think their backs to the wall, they make their best records. Let's drag something out of them. I'll show you what's going on. So I'll carry on with the intro as we seem to be roaming towards that. As I've said, his third studio album by him and Wings. As I say, he had the one on his own in 71. But by 73, as we've said, he kind of his artistic credibility was on the wane. Really, I don't think that Red Rose Speedway and Wildlife, the two previous albums he'd done, they'd had very mixed reviews, I think. And I think, to be honest, that's probably fair. I had a friend of mine who was very much McCartney and Wings, and he had Red Rose Speedway, so I listened. He had it on in his car quite a lot, and I can't remember being that enamored by it really as an album. I think it probably had some tracks. I've never had the urge to go back and reinvestigate it in later years. It just kind of drifted away really, and that's where I think I am, and I think that probably, it was probably where McCartney found himself, a bit in that kind of limbo thing. Ex-Beatle, Draps, Family Garden, Good Morning. And so, so it turns up, we get to 73, and he's kind of, it's not going that well, I don't think, in terms of his post-Beatles work. And so he decided that he would try and find somewhere to make an album in an exotic location. And I think in 1973, where could be more exotic than Lagos, Nigeria? It's one of the places where EMI had studios. They had studios over the world, across the world. And it was one of the places where they had a studio. So he decided to go there. So I think, but shortly before the departure, as we know, the drummer Denny Sewell and guitarist Henry McCulloch left the group. I think they were feeling a bit like they were just his paid music, his paid backing band kind of thing, which I think is probably true. They were, but they clearly felt as though they wanted to be more than that, and it should be a band rather than Paul McCartney's backing musicians. So they left just before they left, leaving Linda, Denny Lane, and McCartney to jet off to Lagos and start the album. And basically, it meant that McCartney played bass, drums, percussion, and most of the lead guitar parts as well on the album. Denny Lane did some, but when they arrived, the studio was not quite in the condition. And I think Jeff Emmerich had quite a lot of running up and down to do to get it working. There's only one tape machine, a Studer 8-track machine, so clearly they were going to do it on an 8-track, and I guess by then 16-track or even probably 24-track had come into being. So it's probably quite well going back to what he did in the Beatles, but a bit more primitive. But as we've said, those kind of those constraints can lead to creativity, and not necessarily a bad thing, really. I think he said at the time, that it was about, as I've said, it's about trying to hold his nerve and try and keep it together, and saying to himself, "I'll show you. I'll make the best album I've ever made now." Which that thing about having your backs to the wall clearly had some effect, I think. They did the basic recordings in Lagos, and then they returned to England to do final overdubs and some other recordings in the Air Studios. So apparently, yes, very very ramshackle in Lagos, but they sorted it out, and it was it was clearly, as we know, it was a hit. They although there was some ups and downs in the road, McCartney and Linda went out on their own and got mugged one evening, all their possessions, including demo tapes of the stuff they were working on. So they had to go back and redo them from memory, apparently, which is quite hairy. So it's quite difficult.
Nightmare.
Well, yes, you can imagine, can't you? Well, I can only imagine that it was quite difficult. I think that Paul has said that the songs on Band on the Run reflect themes of escape and freedom, while the structure of the album recalls the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper's and Abbey Road. The song Band on the Run was partly inspired by a remark George Harrison made during one of the many business meetings the Beatles attended in '69. So, things coming out, and I think you can see that. I think there's definitely that Band on the Run is about not being in the Beatles. I feel that. Various other things going on, but so they did 6 weeks in Nigeria, and chilling out on the beach and recording at night. Very nice work if you can get it. Apparently, so but they didn't. Before the band left England, there was outbreak of cholera just to contend with, just to keep you on your toes. But they went back into it, and they released the single Hell in Wheels in October. It's not on the album. It's not on the original album. So I think they put it on the American one later. The cover photo was taken at Osterley Park, West London, in October 1973 by photographer Clive Arrowsmith, and shows McCartney, Linda, and Lane, plus 6 other well-known people dressed as convicts, who are Michael Parkinson, the chat show host, Kenny Lynch, who I don't think that name will probably mean much to most people. He was a well-known comedian then. James Coburn, clearly the film star, Clement Freud, who was an MP and a chef, Christopher Lee, and John Conte, the boxer. And Arrowsmith detailed that the eventual cover was one of 4 he found acceptable in the 24 attempts he took. The spotlight's low potency meant everyone had to stand still for 2 seconds for proper exposure, which made difficult by the photographer and subjects reported being in a substance haze following a party held by McCartney, making it harder for them to hold the pose. So very good. That's fun. Upon its release, it had pretty favourable reviews. I think everybody reviewed it, said it was his best album, I think, to date. Charles Shaw Murray in The Enemy wrote, "The ex-Beatle, least likely to re-establish his credibility and lead the field, has pulled it off with a positive masterstroke of an album titled Band on the Run." So, and I think that's echoed by other reviews as well. Its commercial reception was unspectacular initially, but I think with the release of Band on the Run, which was a top 10 hit, and Jet, those things helped boost the album so that it sold well, really well, both here and in America, and helped boost the album, and it topped the Billboard albums on 3 separate occasions during '74. So the singles must have worked. That's a good example of singles helping album sales, as a thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, shall we start with the tracks? Guys, do you have anything else you want to say about it?
I'm happy to start with the tracks, guys. Andrew?
Okay.
If you got anything you want to add?
You want to say anything else?
No, it's all good.
We thought you'd gone all silent on us then. Furious.
Yeah. I'm just reading the comments in the chat.
Oh,
that's
good.
all.
Well done.
Yeah,
read the comments. Yeah, that's right. So first track, title track, is Band on the Run, and at 5 minutes 12, this is clearly the album version. I think they chopped some out for the single version, but song was recorded in 2 parts in different sessions. The first 2 in Lagos, and then a third section was recorded in Air Studios. And we say that the orchestration was done by Tony Visconti, the David Bowie producer and musician, and who liked. I think McCartney liked his arrangements for T-Rex, and so Visconti was given a mere 3 days to write arrangements for the whole album. There's nothing like pressure, is there, to knock it out, including a 60-person orchestra for the title track. Visconti said that the arrangement was a collaboration with McCartney. Was surprised he was not credited with his work until the 25th anniversary issue. Seems a trifle harsh. I think that the thing to say about Bound on the Run, firstly, it's a medley of 3 distinct musical passages. So it has a folk rock bit, it has an acoustic bit, and it has the funk bit and the rock bit, and fitting them all together. It's kind of an art, and I think leads on from later Beatles stuff, doesn't it, where they did that sort of thing, put things together in a way. Originally, McCartney planned not to release any singles from Band on the Run, but he was convinced by Capitol to release Band on the Run, and was a hit, was a smash hit. But the lyrics, I think McCartney stated that if we ever get out of here, was inspired by a remark made by George Harrison, and stuck inside these 4 walls, stuck inside forever. Is clearly about being in that Beatles situation and all the attendant legal and Alan Klein stuff and all those things going on. That it's a kind of transition from captivity to freedom. I think they're coming together. So it's as I've said, it's a kind of three part thing. It's got the sort of guitar and a key. I mean, there's a lot of keyboards on this record as well. Yeah. That's one of the things that struck me going back to it, having not listened to it. There's a lot of kind of synths. So I mean, I think that voyage of kind of exploration into keyboards and sounds, different sounds, and things like that, goes over a lot into this record. And and it's got the guitar bit. It's got the acoustic guitar bit as well. Which he just goes into sort of just in the middle, and then there's a much more kind of band stuff at the end with lots of kind of slide as a kind of coloration thing, lots of yes, which I found interesting as well, because I don't think of McCartney as being particularly a slide. I don't know whether that was. I don't know if that was a. Yes, that's true, Hobo. Yes, absolutely. I think it's a good example of that kind of putting it together. It's Day in the Life, which is putting 2 songs together to make one. So I think clearly they did this. I think it's a fantastic opener to the record. I'm giving it 10 out of 10 and never a skip. I think it's clearly one of the strongest things on, and the right decision made to release it as a single, because I think it shows off McCartney's talent really well. Brad.
No, it's Andrew.
Oh, sorry, it's Andrew. Yes, I've forgotten the order already.
Sorry.
I'm pushed to the back today.
Yeah. You'll be right. You'll be okay there, mate. You'll handle it. You'll be right. Band on the Run clearly ranks as one of McCartney's most popular songs, hasn't it? And it's been a consistent part of his live act since the inception of the song back in '73. As the rock professor said, the lyrics loosely encapsulate this desire to escape the business issues that was hanging around the Beatles towards the end of their demise, and we've touched on that a lot, haven't we, guys, when we've reviewed a few albums around that touchy sort of delicate period. And they still managed, didn't they, to get together and still produce music, and that Get Back session sort of reinforced for us that desire that they had as musicians and friends to put all that to aside and do the music. So it was always a constant theme, wasn't it, with Paul McCartney, that he wanted to escape this thing. You know what, Simon? I think he did. And going to Lagos, I think, was a physical thing that he had to do for him to do it mentally, if you understand. He's clearly a smart guy. He's been reading about a lot of things. He's been reading about travel from an Eastern meditation, mystical perspective. So going to Lagos fitted into that whole kind of travel thing that they were doing. And that back up against the wall mentality that the rock professor said. critical component that went into this album. The rock professor's right, broken down to three parts, but there's some great sections in it. I love the fact that Visconti brings that orchestration in, doesn't he? And it just takes it to another level. It overwhelms that landscape that we've had beforehand. One little part that I really, really love about the song, I love it when McCartney and Lane go, Mama. I love that part, where they go from an E up to a G to a B flat with their vocals. And why do I know that? Because we were talking about that today with Liquid Charlie, about vocals being really, really important. And, being able to use your vocal ability to be able to rise and match the chords. For me, it's fascinating. We're going to talk a lot more about this, aren't we, guys, as we do more shows. From that perspective, Simon, I love it. I think it's fantastic the way that McCartney sings his vocals on this album, and we'll talk more because there's some other great examples. He's got this ability to sing either down low, down here, Brad, and then also he's got this ability to sing from his throat. Love it. I'm not going to be stingy and mean like Jim and give it a 9.
Ooh. Stingy and mean, Jim.
Stingy
there we are.
And mean.
Oh, look at
that. No, it's not stingy and mean. In fact, Jim very kindly, nicely sent me a couple of records, and we're going to talk more about that next week when we talk a little bit more about some other bits and pieces. But thank you, Jim. I'm glad you're in the chat. I just wanted to say to you face to face, thank you for sending me those albums, and we'll talk more. I have to agree with the rock professor, Brad. I've got to give this a 10 out of 10. I wanted to Brad score it, but I'm going to keep a couple of maybe Brad scores for other tracks. But 10 out of 10, never a skip. In fact, probably one of the top 5 for me McCartney songs ever.
The joys of going last when everything that you've got in your notes. So for me, Band on the Run. Okay, the song I like to describe it as like a bit of a journey. The medley sort of goes in waves. From that mellow intro, that's really cool. I love all the cool bass playing through that. But what really hit me was the harmonies. I've got that there, Andrew, what you're referring to.
Yep.
The nice build-up, the guitar tone. About 2 minutes 17, we get that lovely acoustic. Some great catchy melodies. Paul's singing great. Look, I could go on and I'll repeat everything my co-hosts have said, but I won't. Amazing opening track for an album. And I'm going to give it 100 out of 10 and never a skip.
Oh! Brad score.
Straight out of the gates. I without sort of doubling up on what everything the rock professor and Andrew have said, I agree with you guys, with everything you've mentioned about this song in particular. But as an opening track for an album by Paul McCartney, under the Wings banner, obviously he's had all his issues up until now, and I think this cements him as more of a contemporary type artist, I think, in my opinion. He sets him aside from the Beatles, is what I'm trying to say. Yep. A solo artist, even though it was the Wings. But, we all know that it was predominantly all Paul McCartney playing on it and recording it. So, it's a solo album, really.
Yep.
100%.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. It's, I think I will say in Jim's defense that I know what he means about the synthing. To me, they do, they are the dawn of the synth era and the time when, it's, and that explosion of sounds. But I think looking back at them, 40, nearly 50 years later, they can sound a bit dated. I think those sounds probably come back into fashion in the next 5 minutes, but those early analog synths are very sought after these days. But I understand what he's talking about with those things, that it's You wouldn't hear that sound from a synth these days, would you?
I think the thing I try to do when I rank these albums, guys, is put my head in that time frame. So I try not to see it as dated or it's been played a million times on the radio or anything like that. I just try to envision I'm stepping back in time and listening to it for the first time. That's how I try to do it. And then I try to rank it as the songs on the album, not against any other Paul McCartney songs. So, because you could easily give this a 0 out of 100 if you compare it with some of his Beatles songs. You know what I mean?
I don't think.
So,
I know what you mean. Yeah, no, you've got to take it on, and I'll take it always within the context of the record and and where they are. Yeah, and not. Yes, there's no comparison with what you might have done in the Beatles. I think that's a spurious connection, really, that doesn't really bear any substantiation when you're ranking these albums. You have to do them within the album themselves, I think.
Yeah,
but I think Band on a Run is one of his best songs, and I think it's still be one of his best songs if he'd done it in the Beatles, as a thing. It's great opening track. I think really good old timey synth music. Yeah. Sorry, small detour. I had in my memory, when I was this sort of time, maybe a bit later, I had an album by a group called Seventh Wave, right? Now, it was called Seventh Wave, and I just, it occurred to me in my mind. I went back and listened to it, and actually it's quite terrible. The singing is awful on it and stuff. It's basically a synth album with singing on it, so it's like an early synth pop record, but it wasn't very good, I'm afraid. My memory of it was much better than the reality of it, looking back on it. But not the case with McCartney at all. So moving on to the second track, Jet. Again, this was released. This was the second single off the album, and clearly, if you want to boost album sales, release the first track first and the second track second is a good way of doing it. Apparently, it's it's about a Labrador puppy, but I think it's ostensibly about a Labrador puppy. But I think that later on he went to talk about saying that actually it was about his experience of meeting Linda's father as well. And he says, there's no telling where you'll get ideas from. We happen to name this little black puppy Jet. Again, I was noodling around looking for an idea and thought, that's a good word. So I wrote the song about that, not about the puppy, just using the name. And now it's transformed into a sort of girl. It was kind of a little bit that experience as I had marrying Linda. Her dad was an old-fashioned type, and I thought I was a little bit intimidated meeting him, as a lot of young guys are meeting their girlfriend's father. And and I think he was, the song starts about being a sergeant major, and that's he's roughly his experience of meeting Linda's father. So it's a kind of really good example of how you can take something and then transmogrify it into something else, as a theme and as a way of getting a song, as a way of doing it. It's pretty much Jet was recorded entirely at Abbey Road, and McCartney played most of the stuff on it. But apparently if you listen to the Moog he's used for the bass line, it's simply Linda holding down the root note. That's a way of getting a credit, guys. Just saying. I think it's something quite. You get John Lennon gets a massive amount of stick for bringing Yoko Ono into the Beatles, into those studio things, and Paul gets the same amount of stick for bringing Linda into his band, even though she's clearly not a musician much, and including her in the process of things because he wanted to have her around, I think there's quite a mirror image there of the two things, but with similar complaints. But this again, it's got a really strong opening with the guitar, and I think there's a cello playing the riff as well. at the beginning. I think it's Tony Visconti, and it's got that kind of chopped reggae type guitar underneath. Driving chord, big chord underneath the singing when they sing Jet. Again, McCartney, great singing on this. He could do rock and roll, he could do ballads, he could do everything. Paul, he's got the voice that can do it all. Again, he's got he's got an instrumental include with a guitar riff and the piano, so it's kind of quite integrated. There's not loads of really big guitar solos on this record. It's all kind of integrated into an overall sound and an overall kind of ambience and putting together of the tracks themselves. Using all those bits of the palette to build up a soundscape, which is when things you've got synth riffs as well. Jim's favorite, dee dee dee, all that stuff that he's playing, and again, they are new, and in those days new and different sound palettes that they can use on these records. I think it's great. It's got and a sax solo at the end, I've given this 9.5 out of 10. Never a skip. Great second track, and I think a worthy single. And I think the boy done good. Andrew.
Look, I won't talk about what the song's about. The Rock Professor's already mentioned that, but it's not unusual for Paul McCartney's compositions to be songs without any kind of real meaning. It's certainly something that he likes to present because it's just more than the words a lot of the times for Paul McCartney. Clearly this song's a timeless piece, isn't it? And it's a crowd pleaser, and like the previous song, it's been in his live act for a long time. And in particular, one live version I think you should go and see, guys. It's the 2004 Glastonbury performance, if you want to get something that's relatively contemporary. And as Brad mentioned earlier in the intro, the backing band that McCartney has now, they're shit hot. They're on fire, and they've been with Paul for a long time. But getting back to this track, look, it's a standard guitar drum song, isn't it, Simon? But it's enhanced by the strings and that saxophone that Tony Visconti can do. It's just fantastic how he brings that in. Brad, I love that that fuzz tone that the Moog synthesizer gets on this song as well, and it's kind of edgy and it works really, really well with the guitars. And I think we got to sort of stick up for the Moog there, because I think it works kind of well. He's got it going. As the Rock Professor said, the boy's done well with this song. It's became a single, I think. I can't quite remember. I didn't see where it went in my research as far as number one, but certainly I think it would have been up there. I'm going to leave some space here for my co-host Brad to come and give us some elaborations, but I'm going to Brad score this. Jet for me was always a standout song, and again in my top 10 of McCartney songs. Never a skip.
Wow.
Brad.
Well, look, it's a great song. I love the intro. I love the horn sort of vibe, what's going on, and that chicken guitar, I love that sort of chicken guitar thing. I feel the song's got a slight punk element to it, and I think it's influenced punk bands moving forward into the 70s, the late 70s. I think that this might have been one of the songs that they referenced, because it does have that element of punk to me, which I don't know if you guys pick up on that or whether I'm just going senile or stupid or something, but I do believe it's got a punk feel to it. Great melody. I love the way Paul's layered his vocals on it. It's got a cool guitar tone as well, where the guitar's playing. The middle section is really cool. It's an easy to remember song and very catchy. And this is like another reason for us where we have to acknowledge the genius of Paul McCartney as a songwriter. He'd always write something catchy with a hook. He'd hook you in within the first 30 seconds. Boom, you're sucked into the song, whether you like it or not. Great second song. I gave it a 9 out of 10 and never a skip for me.
Yeah, I love it at that 133 section where he goes, I made want you to all. Yeah, it's like, what the hell does that mean?
And I love the guitar behind it too. I love the guitar part behind that
section.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. It's fascinating. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Nelson Rodriguez, how are you, brother?
Big fat 10 all day. Yeah, man. So, okay. So the third track is Bluebird. Bluebird is, one is tempted to say Bluebird like Blackbird. Pretty much, Yeah.
No,
well, it's a bloody obvious. It's an obvious connection, so I'm doing it.
Okay. All right.
Should we all do it together?
Where there's no connection, ladies and gentlemen, the rock professor's going to find a connection. All right.
Yeah, they are both pretty much solo acoustic. No, that's not. I promise you, it did strike me as that. You go Bluebird. Oh yeah, like Blackbirds. It's like, I think other than that, there is no real connection between the two songs at all, as far as I can tell. But it's it's one of those songs that it's a typical McCartney song. It's kind of, it's got a lovely melody. He's all about fantastic melody. It's a pretty simple song. It's it's just singing, bit of percussion, bass, and the acoustic guitar. Just kind of goes through, and lots of verses, and he's got the middle eight, that sort of pre-chorus bit, which is very Beatles kind of harmonies. Surprisingly, he can do Beatles type harmonies better than most. Sax solo in the middle, and he sings the harmony when they're doing a sax solo, which is, as I say, another example of kind of that integration where the solos are not, they're with something else, or they're with other instruments doing things together. So that kind of integration of the things together. Apparently, it's a metaphor. Bluebird is a metaphor for transcendent power of love and the liberation of the human spirit from mental and physical bondage, which kind of goes with the first track that goes with Band on the Run as the first track. The flying motif is a continuation of the theme of escape that runs through this album. So, I gave this an 8.5 out of 10 and never a skip.
Yeah, I think you're right, Simon. Bluebird went on to be a consistent part of Wings' live performance during the mid-70s, and it's on the Rock Show film as well. It's a delicate, dreamy ballad, isn't it, Brad? It never fails to delight. And I think what it does for us is it gives us a bit of an idea of, as the rock professor said, McCartney's ability, his intuitive understanding of how those major seventh chords are important to McCartney as he's moving forward as a composer, as a writer. And I think this is what this song does for a lot of McCartney fans. It's a pointer. I never liked this song for a long time, Simon. I would often skip this song because, and when you're a young guy looking for rock and roll, rightly so, I'd never skip it now. I think it's a lovely song. It's it situates itself perfectly in the album. And guys, we're always on to whether or not an album has songs programmed or sequenced well. I think putting this song here, I wouldn't change that. It's a restful ballad.
No.
And that transcendental dent heights, lows, whatever the song is supposed to encapsulate, I suspect might require other things to help that happen, because I don't get that from the song when I'm listening to it. I just see it as a great little song. I'm going to give it a 7.5 out of 10. But Simon, more importantly, it's never a skip. Brad?
No.
Yeah, I agree with you, Andrew. I've put here, and Simon, I've also put here, well, in the Beatles, he wrote a song about blackbirds. So he obviously thought it was time to sing about bluebirds.
Great minds think alike, Brad.
Yeah.
For sure. Yep.
In typical Paul McCartney fashion, we hear a nice little acoustic ditty. Yeah, catchy chorus. I'm not sure how many times he says the word bluebird, but I'm definitely sure it's a lot. Okay.
A lot. A
lot. And look, I'm on the same path as Andrew here. I won't repeat everything, but as a young guy, there was a bit of a rocker and wanted bluesy, rocky, sort of hard rock stuff. I would skip this song and I wouldn't give it a chance. But, as the years progress, I put albums on to listen to now, not just necessarily want to hear one song of each album or something. So I've learned to appreciate the song and in fine Paul McCartney fashion, the way it's written as well. I gave it a 7 out of 10. Sometimes a skip, but if I was to put on this album, I'd never skip. So never a skip.
Okay.
No, that's right. And it's interesting doing it, we don't take individual tracks, we're playing it as an album and figuring out as how the album is programmed and stuff like that. And I agree with Andrew. I think it's the perfect place for this sort of song. You've had two big kind of big songs to start with, lots going on, lots of instrumentation, lots of things, and just take it back a bit provides a really good contrast, you've got to have those contrasts in an album. You can't just, I think, having one thing all the way through is, and especially then, I think, that emphasis on, diversity, musical diversity, different styles, different things.
Yeah.
Dog, look, our channel dog has arrived. Pepper, how you doing?
Say hello to the people. Good girl.
Does she want some food? Is that what she's after? Or the W
daddy.
word?
She wants daddy.
Does she?
Pepper's a star of the show, really.
Yeah, definitely.
Pepper's a star,
Yeah.
We're just the mugs that,
That's right.
Hang around. That's it. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, I think programming of an album is really important, and having that difference and saying, we must have an acoustic number, that kind of thing. So I think it works really well in that space. The fourth track on side one is Mrs. Vanderbilt. The opening lines of the song are don't know if this will mean anything to anybody outside of me, but are taken from the catchphrase of the English musical performer Charlie Chester, who's like a 30s and 40s musical guy, comedian, whose catchphrase was "Down in the jungle, living in a tent, better than a bungalow, no rent." Because when you're a comedian in the 40s and 50s, what you needed is a catchphrase of some description. And clearly McCartney changed the lyrics a bit to "Down in the jungle, living in a tent, you don't use money, you don't pay rent." Again, the forced laughter at the end is influenced by Charlie Chester's effects on his studio audience, and they added more laughter in the Air studios after recording the basic stuff in basic tracks in Lagos. They it tends to make me laugh. The weird laughing bits and things. It's quite stoner, isn't it? In a way, it's kind of thing. So again, it's another kind of acoustic drums and bass start. And you've got that chorus, ho, hey ho, that again is a kind of quite a sort of simple McCartney thing. So you're going with the sound of a word, not actually what the words actually might mean, which is fine. I think it's again lots of stuff going on in this. He's got electric piano in them. He's got a sax solo, got lots of guitar playing into lines and stuff, intertwining into the other instruments in this. So I think, again, this theme of kind of and the middle where he sings anything, but he sings it like a sheep, anything. Does that sheep thing on the end of it? It's just a weird little joke, clearly. And a very nice, cool descending bass run at the end to finish it. I give this an 8 out of 10. Never a skip, but it's a jolly little interlude. Andrew.
Yeah, fourth track. So my information says the song is vaguely based on the Vanderbilt family, that US Dutch descent dynastic family, and its patriarch Cornelius Vanderbilt, who made a fortune in the 19th century through rail and shipping empires. However, the song that we know, it's spelt a little bit differently, and McCartney apparently went on to explain on a website that in America there was a famously rich family called Vanderbilt. So in the song, I wanted one of my characters, and that's the key here. That's the key for these guys with McCartney. It's about characters. So he's taking, a living thing, and whatever, and taking a character from that and writing a song about it. He's taken this character. It's a figure of authority, and so he just randomly chose Mrs. Vanderbilt, as the character, based on authority, and he's exploring that. Ho, hey ho. Ho, hey ho.
Hey ho.
Yeah. As the rock professor said, it's pretty simple, isn't it, Brad? It's just like, don't you wish you could just write a song like that? Ho, hey ho. It's but
catchy.
But these guys can get away with it, because if I wrote a song like that, people say, "What's that shit?" But not saying the song
Paul McCartney.
Not saying this song is SHIT, because I kind of like the song. I don't mind something that's a little bit off track, when it makes sense to me. I think, Simon, you're right though about substances. What's really important and really interesting for us, I think, that we have to remember is, Linda McCartney, as the rock professor said, was a very integral part of what Paul McCartney was going to be during the 70s. She was there. Famously, they never spent a night apart when they got married. Famous for that. And what's really interesting is that who's the guitar player on this album? Denny Lane?
Denny Lane.
Yeah, Denny. So Denny Lane made a couple of comments in the late 70s. He said, one of the interesting things about hanging out with the McCartneys is you could have drugs. You could have whatever drug you wanted. That was fine, but you couldn't have page 3 girls. You couldn't have pornography. There was nothing like that at all. Linda didn't like that. She was dead against that. Yeah. But you could have, obviously these mind-enhancing things, which isn't surprising when you consider where they came from, Brad, in the 60s. They're still kind of, putting rock and roll music and this kind of stuff together. And I think certainly this song, Ho, Hey Ho, means something when you're in that state of mind. But I love it. I'm going to give it 9.5. Yeah, I'm going to give it 9.5 out of 10. And certainly it's never a skip. Brad?
Well, another acoustic vibes song. That bass is really predominant up front in this song. I don't know if you guys picked up on that.
Big time.
Yeah, saxophone breaks, pretty cool. We hear a nice little guitar solo in this song, very melodic. Some nice vocals and background vocals. Nothing wrong with the song. I actually like it. It's a nice little ditty, but I gave it a 7 out of 10, and it's never a skip for me.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised, Brad, that you would give it a 7 out of 10. But I'm glad that you talked about that prominent bass line, because it's a lively tempo, isn't it, with the acoustic guitar and that bass. And, clearly, isn't it, Simon? Clearly, this is where I think Paul McCartney is responsible for, at least on this album, as a bass player. We know that he's a songwriter, he's this musician, this freak of nature. But if we just peel it back a bit and just talk about him being a bass player on an album, I think it's an album that pushed where the bass sound was going to go. And we got parts of that, didn't we, with some of those later albums like Abbey Road, where you could sort of hear that swampy bass come through. But he's certainly got it chugging on this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. And it makes the McCartney bass line makes it kind of bounce, doesn't it? Gives it that kind of bouncy feel to it.
Correct.
It's really important if you're going to have a song that goes, hey, oh, it's got to have a bounce to it, isn't it? Because you see, otherwise you get what I just did, which is not so much bounce. Don't want to frighten the people by doing it properly. That's a thing. Cool. So track 5, talking of substances, track 5, Let Me Roll It. Now let me see now.
No, that's about rolling the dog over for itching the tummy.
Oh, right, that's what it is. Well, some people have said that. Other people may have not said that, including Mr. McCartney. It was actually oh dear. See, I think that some critics, such as John Landau, saw the song as a pastiche of John Lennon's sound, particularly the riff and the use of the tape echoes on the vocals.
Oh, yeah.
McCartney, however, didn't intend the song to be a pastiche of Lennon. He did say the vocal does sound like John. I hadn't realised it. I'd sung it like John. He just had, kind of thing. So many have interpreted this song as an olive branch offered to John Lennon after all the bitterness arriving from his Beatles breakup song, How Do You Sleep? However, in an interview with the Clash magazine in 2010, McCartney explained this was more of a drug song, saying, Let Me Roll It wasn't to John. It was just in the style of what we did in the Beatles that John was particularly known for. It was really actually the use of echo. It was one of those, you're not going to use echo just because John used it. I don't think so. To tell you the truth, it was more about rolling a joint than anything else. That was the double meaning there. Let me roll it to you. It was more in the back of the mind than anything else. And the song's title apparently was inspired by a quote from George Harrison's "I'd Have You Any Time," the opening track from All Things Must Pass. So that's cool. Again, you've got that kind of organ, bass, drums, and guitar. So quite an integrated sound again. Not coming in just playing that kind of, I think, a C A minor kind of down riff. Then you've got that signature guitar riff that comes in, and as we said, echo on the voice, lots of echo on the voice, double tracked and harmony on the chorus. And I think this is one of those songs where you can hear how brilliant a singer Paul McCartney is, because he can do those kind of that harmony, those two things himself. The things that him and Lennon used to do, he can, he does them on here, but by himself. He's got the chopped guitar, and it's a pretty straightforward song, I think. Again, it's a great tune, isn't it? It's got a melody, and it's singable, and you remember it, and earworm stuff, and that thing at the end at 4:28 where he does that really high scream, just to show you that he's got that kind of rock and roll voice to it as a thing. I gave this an 8.5 out of 10, and not a skip. Andrew.
Yeah. Look, I agree with you. I agree with you, Simon. I think it's a great song as far as being a vehicle for McCartney's voice. I just love the way that he's got that gravel going in this song. Love the live performances, Brad, of it too. You know, in fact, he probably sounds better singing this live. Clearly McCartney loves singing this song, you know, because he just puts, you know, that you know, that gravel that he gets. And then he can go and sing another song straight after this when he's live, and he's singing almost in a falsetto. So, yeah, you know, I'm going to recommend anybody that's watching this that hasn't listened to this song, and if you're watching a replay of our show, go and listen to the song and just get blown away by the vocals of Paul McCartney on it. I think the Rock Professor summed it up. And because of that, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. It's a great vehicle. And go and check out the live versions as well. Brad?
Don't like going last.
Your chance next week not to go last, Brad.
So I much prefer this song live than on the album. That's what I'll put here. But that being said, it's got some really nice moving bass lines. The keyboards are really cool. The vibe is really cool. Some raunchy guitar tones in this song. Very Lennon-ish, you know, with the guitar playing especially. I don't know if you guys mentioned that about the vocals, but the guitar playing reminds me of Lennon in the Abbey Road sort of era. You know what I mean? He's guitar playing there. I think the vocals come in and sound a bit too far back in the mix. I'm not sure if you guys picked that up. And I know it's drenched in that echo reverb effect. But it sounds like, I don't know, maybe it's just my ears weren't listening to it the way that it should have been heard. You know, because sometimes they record things to be heard on a big system, and I was listening to this on a little one. But which is normally really good for doing these ranking shows because all the little overdubs stand out to me. Catchy melody, lots of space in this song. I personally think they could have filled some of the space up a little bit. When I say space, there's areas of the song that are just so empty, and I think they could have done something maybe to fatten them up a bit or something. I don't know. There's just something missing in it. It's a cool song to finish first side as well, but I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10 for me and never a skip.
Yep.
That's interesting, yeah. About the space.
It's like an emptiness, that's all. There's like a bit of empty vibe going on, maybe too much in it. I don't know. That's just from my ears, you know. And I'm sticking to it.
You'd have put a couple of extra things in there, Brad, would you?
Look, you know, I can't deny the fact that McCartney's an absolute legend. His vocals are great. He's trying to emulate something there. I don't know if it was intentionally or not, but he was trying to get that raunchy vibe. I still picked up more on the Lennon vibe from the guitar playing than the vocal. But yeah, I'm sticking to it.
I think you should gainsay Paul McCartney. I think this is a part of our new. Well, if I was McCartney, I would have done this, and it would have been much better.
I can't do that because I'm not.
No, I know.
I'm not gonna.
No, I know. I'm joking.
He's rock and roll royalty. I can't. You know, I'm not going to argue with Paul McCartney. If that's what he wanted on the song, that's how it is. Okay.
Yeah. No, completely. So that's the end of side one. Shall we look at the picks?
Sure.
Yeah.
So just hold on, guys. We're just going to... These are overlays this week as opposed to sharing the screen. So we'll just get rid of that comment there. Happy birthday, Paul. Thank you for checking us out. We know that you stop by.
He watches all our shows.
Not yet. Well, yes, he does. Okay, all right. You heard it here first.
Clearly, he does. Yeah, he does.
Okay, so that's the famous album cover there that the Rock Professor described, and the characters that are in that famous cover. That's the band, ladies and gentlemen, that recorded this album.
Denny
Pretty
Lane
much.
is Wings.
Yes. Paul McCartney and Wings, Denny Lane. So, yeah, they certainly obviously had a chemistry, the three of them, didn't they? And the good thing about Denny is that he passed on his musical knowledge to Linda as well. And Linda was always appreciative of that as well, you know, because he had the patience to work with her because she wasn't a musician. So, good on him. And that's Wings again. That's that version of Wings there. And that lovely Rickenbacker bass. That's in the studio in Lagos, Simon.
Yep.
Yeah, Paul looks like he's doing some tracking there.
He looks like he's falling asleep.
That's the famous cover and the back cover of the album. Again, you know, a great piece of art on that cover. I've just thrown this in. This is from '76, guys. I just love that. Just love this era of McCartney where he was actually, you know, Wings Across America were dominating the pop charts. You know, the second wind of McCartney. Took him a few years, Simon, but he got there, didn't he, in the mid-70s to, you know, superstar status again.
Yep.
That's the band that toured after Band on the Run was released. So you got Jimmy McCulloch in there, Denny Lane, and Jeff Britton in '74.
Mm-hmm.
Another classic photo there of Paul McCartney with his Rickenbacker bass. And there he is there, another one. Again, looking pretty good. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool there.
Pretty cool. That was his signature bass, wasn't it? That Rickenbacker bass in the '70s.
And some chubby cheeks going on there too. Yeah. So that's the picks, ladies and gentlemen. We've got 20 people watching us. You guys are amazing. Yeah. Thank you very much for hanging out with the Rock Professor Brad and I. Guys, please subscribe to our channel if you have not. If you're popping by and you haven't hit that subscribe button, and do us another big favor. Go to our community and channels page. Go to our channels page and subscribe to everybody there. There's some cool cats there that you guys will know. There's a couple of new channels there that we've put there. But yeah, go and subscribe to our friends on our channel page, please. Brad, good to see you, brother.
Sorry.
He's back. That's right. That's fine.
So, all the pictures have been shown to duck off for a sec.
Yes.
Ducking off, eh?
Yeah, Denny Lane's cool. You're right there, Helene. He was cool. He was a very important part of that band.
Yeah. Yeah, so kind of a bit of an unsung hero, really, in some ways, and keeping it going with Paul musically. Absolutely. So here we are on side 2. First track on side 2 is Mammonia. So apparently it was written in Marrakesh in early '73. The title was inspired by the Hotel Mammonia, which is where they stayed at the time. And apparently it means safe haven in Arabic. According to the author, John Blaney, McCartney used the term as a metaphor for rebirth. Mammonia is one of several songs of Band on the Run, including the title track and Bluebird, which espouse the theme of escape and freedom. The song's verses use rain as a metaphor for the difficult times people face. The song's message is not to complain about difficult times, because everyone faces tough times, and it's better to focus on your safe haven during those times. It was the first song recorded in Lagos. And Paul sings lead vocals and plays guitar and bass. Denny Lane plays guitar and sings backing vocals, and Linda provides some backing vocals as well. Apparently, one of McCartney's roadies plays the bass drum on it. Like Bluebird, Mammonia is primarily acoustic, and that's kind of has been described as a song so lightweight it'll float off, but note that it is relentlessly melodic, which I think again is the key phrase to use with McCartney, is it relentlessly melodic. So you've got an acoustic guitar with the bass, and you've got some sort of just bass drum. I thought they were almost tablets like things, just kind of very, very basic kind of drums. Really nicely sung. I think the double track vocals and harmony on the chorus and stuff. I mean, he's such a great singer, McCartney, that he can make everything, make it all come to life and make it mean something in a way. I mean, you've got the keyboards that come in at the end as well, but quite a sort of, in a sense, quite an interesting start to side 2, I think. I gave it 7.5 out of 10. It's not a skip, but I think they possibly could have maybe done something a bit stronger to start the album than this myself. I don't know. Andrew, what do you think?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not my favourite song. I can see what they're trying to do, what he's trying to achieve with the song, because we've got hints of it, haven't we, with, is it Bluebird or Blackbird? Bluebird. On side 1. But McCartney, though, loves these acoustic little ditties, doesn't he? He does them right through the Beatles, he loves it. It's clearly a song, I think, Brad, that he enjoys doing, and it's on this album because it's means something to him. Doesn't mean a lot to me, guys. It's an acoustic ditty. Nothing special going on for me on this song. It fits into the agenda, the program of the album. But I have to sort of question, Simon, why it's opening side 2. It's one of the strangest decisions to have a side 2 song that we've ever done on this show, and I've thought about it for a long time. It's I can't think of any other stranger, different song opening side 2 than this.
No,
guys, look, we got to be honest most of the time on the show.
Yes, we'd like to know when you weren't.
Simon and Brad, I get what Paul's trying to do with it, but as a song, it doesn't captivate me. It's a 5 out of 10. It's probably more often than not going to be a skip, and not my favourite McCartney song by any stretch of the imagination. Brad?
Well, I wish that I had gone just before you there, Andrew, because I thought I was going to upset everyone by saying what I have to say about this song. It doesn't resonate with me very much. Pretty much on the same vibe as yourself there, Andrew. I mean, it's McCartney has a love for these acoustic numbers, but this one, I don't know what he's trying to achieve with it. It's a nice acoustic. There's a nice moving melody, but the chant-like feel doesn't really resonate with me. It takes a bit of a turn in the song. Some nice sort of feel overall. The vocals are recorded very sweet. The harmonies are good. Mellow, I just put 5.5 and I put 5 and then I made it 5.5 and made it sometimes a skip. But in the context of a record, I think it's positioned horribly.
Yeah.
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 You know, but this, in my opinion, is a throwaway song in comparison to the rest on the album, and I would have put it as the last song because a lot of bands put like those quirky little things last song sort of thing, you know.
Yeah. Well, the second to last track on side 2, yes, is the
Simon sings second last song and then a crack at a finish. I hope I haven't offended anyone there with this one, but just probably more times a skip than listen to it anyway. So sometimes a skip.
No, that's right. I would agree with that as well. I think it's that. Actually, I think we're pretty much on the same pages. We think it's a real odd song to start a side 2 with and stuff, and we wouldn't have gone with that as a thing. No. Yeah. Okay. Cool.
Nelson and Keith call it McCartney.
McCartney.
Yeah.
Well, is it an album filler? I mean, you wouldn't put an album filler as the first song on the second side. So he obviously really loved the song.
Obviously thought there was something in it for him, for sure. Yeah. But
I did listen to that song in particular more than I did the other ones to try and let it grow on me. But the more I listened to it, the more I wanted to skip it. So
failed.
But that's in comparison to the rest of the songs on this album. I have to make that clear. Yeah.
Oh well. So. Yeah. No, I think that's entirely right. Okay, so moving on to the second track on side 2, which is No Words. This is Denny Lane's sole writing credit for on this album, and he wrote it. And apparently, it was Paul's idea to put 2 of Denny Lane's songs together to make one song. And we've already talked about that, putting different songs together to make to make a song, and added some few lines in the last verse and helped him put it together. So it was a dual composition. Again, the basic tracks were recorded in Lagos and later completed in England. The orchestral arrangements, consisting of brass and string quartet, were made by Tony Visconti. Ian Hall and Trevor Jones, 2 of Wings roadies, sang backing vocals on the track, although their parts are buried in the mix. Otherwise, the vocals consisted primarily of Denny Lane and Paul and Linda McCartney all singing together, and with Lane and Paul McCartney taking a solo spot. The lyrics express the singer's desire for a woman who he fears may not only be interested in him. The refrain consists of the single line, "No words for my love." Music author Vincent Bennex interprets the song ending on a dominant key rather than a tonic, as reflecting the singer's uncertain situation. So, again, kind of quite a sort of light song, really. It's got guitar and strings. McCartney playing acoustic again, I think. Yeah, it's got really nice guitar melody. Again, it's a very melodic song, and it's got some deft synth parts in it, playing a sort of brass part that's very 70s thing, synth playing in that in a particular key that gives you a very brass sound. Again, melodic bass and lush instrumentation and singing at the end, with a guitar solo at the end as well, which is quite unusual. I haven't written that very much. A 7 out of 10 from me, and not a skip, but
I agree with you, Simon. I agree with you. The occasional songwriting team of McCartney and Lane got off to a very fine start with this mid-tempo number. The rock professor's right. Visconti in his biographies made this comment about it. He said, "I made a short trip over to the McCartney's home at St. John Wood. Paul sat at the piano with me, sitting next to him, and played me snippets of songs on a portable cassette player. And I was thrilled to be doing this, but not so thrilled when he told me that he needed all 7 arrangements by Wednesday." So, to give you a bit of an example, guys, we get this view that Paul McCartney is this great guy, and certainly is, this huge figure in human history, but he's also, the boss, isn't he, Simon? He's the, he's telling you what he wants, and when he wants it, which is not surprising. It starts off with that vocal offbeat thing that McCartney loves to do. It's better than the last song. And I like the fact that there's that collaboration between, the other parts of the three people that go into this album. Look, I like the song. I'm certainly going to be interested to see and listen to what Brad has to say. I'm not going to skip this. I think it certainly builds on the catastrophe that was the song before it. I'm going to give this 8 out of 10, and never a skip.
Yeah, well, no words for me. I really like the guitar sound on this song. Really, really like it. The dual vocals are done really well. I enjoy the moving playing sections with the cool runs. If you guys are familiar with the song enough to understand what I'm talking about. There's some nice, simple, lead guitar playing on the outro. The overall song itself is probably would have been a stronger first song, to be honest with you, for the second side than the previous song. But I gave it an 8 out of 10. It's never a skip for me, without repeating what you guys have already done. So 8 out of 10 for me, never a skip.
Yeah, I just want to back that up, mate, because I did a little bit of research before we came live, and there's a few people out there saying that No Words is one of the overlooked masterpieces on Band on the Run. So it's certainly, Simon, a song, I think, that sort of picked up momentum over the last 10, 15 years amongst, Beatles fans. At 2:35, it's very short, but within that limited time frame, what people are talking about is they just love the fact that McCartney's jamming in that 2:35, a wealth of that musical stuff that McCartney does, the tricks that he does with the chords, something that he first started doing back in 62, 60 with the Beatles, throwing an A chord where it should go to a C and stuff like that. So I think it's picking up momentum, and not often when we come and do a ranking of the tracks am I sort of seriously looking at my rankings on a song. So I'm going to go back and see what the fuss is about the song that I've missed, guys.
Yeah. I mean, it's fine. I'm not like wildly excited by it as a song. It's fine. It has all the hallmarks of McCartney and stuff. But I didn't think it was worth more than 7 really. For me, it's it's got a bit more going on, as you say, than the first track. But the next track is Picasso's Last Words, quite literally. And apparently McCartney said he was on vacation in Montego Bay in Jamaica when he snuck onto the set of the film Papillon, where he met Dustin Hoffman and Steve McQueen. After a dinner with Hoffman, McCartney was playing around on a guitar. Hoffman did not believe that McCartney could write a song about anything. So Hoffman pulled out a magazine where they saw the story of the death of Pablo Picasso and his famous last words, "Drink to me, drink to my health. You know I can't drink anymore." And McCartney created a demo of the song and lyrics on the spot, prompting Hoffman to exclaim to his wife, "Look, he's doing it! He's doing it!" Creating the magic out of the air. So they were recording in Lagos. They were invited by former Cream drummer Ginger Baker to go up to his Arc Studios in the nearby suburb. Whilst Baker insisted McCartney they should record the entire album there, McCartney was reluctant and agreed he would spend one day there. Picasso's last words were recorded during that time. Baker contributed by playing a tin can full of gravel. Marvelous. But you can hear clearly the tin can full of gravel on the track. Okay. Again, it's a kind of, it has that kind of acoustic. Again, Paul on acoustic comes in with the bass, double track harmony singing, just a kind of slow strummy song. And then you've got the drums, kind of drums interjecting between the singing, which is quite interesting, rather than guitars or whatever, which is what we're used to. Lovely harmony in the chorus. Great woodwind break as well. I presume that's a Visconti piece of work, that woodwind section where they play. And then there's the French speaking bit, and then they got this like little drum machine, weird drum machine that goes tick 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 kind of thing, early drum machine thing. And then they put a part of Jet comes in, put in a part of Jet, and then it goes back, and you've got string section, with quite lush strings actually, double track vocals, and then an electric piano. And again, at 3:40, you go back to the acoustic back in with the chorus and crowd noises. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot of sound collage, what I kind of collage of sounds going on, which is a woodwind interlude with the French speaking again, and that drum machine, and then a kind of electric guitar playing a little sort of delicate figure. And then you've got the an orchestra bit, and then you've got the ho hey ho bit at the end. It seems a kind of strange way of just interjecting other bits into it. It's a fun song. It's fine. It's 7 out of 10 for me, and it's not a skip. But yeah, Andrew.
I'm going to throw up Jim's comment because I think it's a fantastic comment, but it's a meandering montage of soundscape snippets in my mind and in my ears, guys. I tried my utmost to situate the song to try and sort of work out the connectedness of this with other songs on this album. I can't see how it's connected. Even the first song on side 2 at least has a connection to elements of this album. Simon, I can't see where this is going. So, and we all love Paul McCartney. We love him, but is this some product of some drug-induced sort of experience? I'd love to know what Paul McCartney thinks about the song all these years later. So I'm going to reveal a little bit about what I think of side 2. If it wasn't for the next song, side 2 could be a disaster on a great album. I can't see, and I'm going to have to wait for Brad to either illuminate me.
Or set fire to you, yes.
or ban me from the show. But the only endearing thing about the song, obviously, is that Paul McCartney wrote it. It was a show-off song, as the rock professor said. In my research, correct. He's correct. It was something that he just pulled out. To over a couple of wines in the southern France or whatever they do over there, and
Montego Bay, Jamaica.
Montego Bay. Well, we know what they were doing in Montego Bay.
Yeah, man.
Look, I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, and this is Jazz Thunder's comment. Picasso's last words: "The story behind the song is better than the song itself. My opinion is that it would have been better off if it was much shorter. This song overstays its welcome." Jeepers. He's on the money there.
Yeah.
Brad.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if I can illuminate you, Andrew, or set you on fire or talk around. I have no idea what to say. I was, Picasso's last words. I'll say Brad's lost words here. I tried to give this song more of a chance than it probably deserves, but in the context of the record, I started to come to a little bit of a conclusion, and McCartney would always throw, and I understood the history of the song, why he wrote it and stuff like that, and understood all that. But I also understand that McCartney has a way of putting, like, if you look at, say, we're not trying to compare McCartney to the Beatles, but the later part of the Beatles, he always had these elaborate ideas like Sergeant Pepper's, all the way through to Abbey Road, and then Let It Be. Let's do this, let's do that, and he was driving it. And I think he just wanted to make it like, I don't know, like it's got a really cool acoustic vibe. The doubled vocals are recorded really well. The bass line's moving around really cool. The middle section sounds like it's got drop-ins to me, like recorded drop-ins. It's got the jet insert, like a bit of a reprise. The no drink section could have been another song, like the way it sort of the arrangement, the way it goes. So then I took my mind back later, concluding that when you look at Abbey Road, for example, starts off with, once it was a way to get back home, that song. Then it goes, oh, boy, you're going to carry it. So it's like a medley, yeah? So in a roundabout way, I had to sort of give it more credit then, there's some cool ideas going on, little disjointed for me. 7 out of 10, never a skip. That's the best I can do.
Absolutely, and thank you for your synopsis, because Brad, again, ladies and gentlemen, brought his musician's mind into analysing the song for us. So we really appreciate that. But Helen's right with her comment. That song is unique for them, especially during that era. So but thank you, Brad, for painting that picture. But 7 out of 10's a healthy score.
Yeah. I think it's okay.
Well, that's basically where,
that's basically where we are.
I'm lost for words, not last words. So.
I see that.
Very good, very good. Brad's last words. Brad's lost words. It's the last track on the album we're making. Brad's lost words. Oh dear. So anyway, the last track on this album is 1985. McCartney has said that the song originated with just the first line. With a lot of songs I do, the first line is it. It's all in the first line, and then you have to go and write the second line. So with Eleanor Rigby, I had picks up the rice in the church where the wedding has been. That was the one big line that started me off on it. With this one, it was no one ever left alive in 1985. And that's all I had of the song for months. No one ever left alive in 1986 wouldn't have worked. So clearly worked it. Has a kind of big feel with full orchestra and the band and lots of other instrumentation on it, mellotrons, organs and horns. It's but it does. I mean, it starts off with piano, bass drums, and then the synth, that synth kind of wah-wah sound comes in. So again, very kind of lots of different parts to it, lots of different, things going on at different points in the song. Slow piano and harmony singing, then you've got slow with the organ, then you've got the bass and the wah-wah synth, then break down to the piano, guitar solo over a nice beautiful descending bass figure, brass interjections with the synth and the woodwind, to that build up, that big kind of orchestral build up to and a big ending, and then with a strange bit of a band on the run to fade out, just as a bookend thing. Again, I think there's lots of ideas in here, lots of musical ideas certainly going on. I've given it 7 out of 10, but it's not a skip.
Oh,
Andrew, tell me off.
oh no. Seven's okay. Jim's put a good comment up here. It's a song that saves the side. Now, doesn't save the album, because I think the album's saved by side one. But I get. I think Jazz Thunder Flash might agree, because I think it was destined to be a great album with side one, but this certainly saves side two. It connects a few things. Where's my notes here, gentlemen? And again, okay, without repeating what the rock professor said, McCartney always has a knack of being able to discover something simple. It has no relationship whatsoever to George L. Orwell's 1984, as the rock professor maybe alluded to. It's a powerful up-tempo number that has lots of harmonic twists and turns, and I'm sure Brad will elaborate a little bit more on that. I've got to say, guys, at the start with that, with the piano, the keyboards going in, with the bass and the percussion behind it, you're in for something special. The intro indicates that to me, and just hold on for a second while I just shoot the page over there. I love the textures in the song, Rock Professor. I love it, and also the way that the drum part and the tom-toms has that, primitive urgency that's going on. Again, who's drumming on this? Is this McCartney drumming on this song?
Yes, McCartney.
Yeah. Okay, so it's no studio dude pretending to be McCartney. We're going to take McCartney at his words. So my gosh, Brad, if any of us could drum half as good as this, you'd consider yourself a great drummer. Brad, I'm going to give this 9.5 out of 10. I love the that final accentuated 3/4 part with the timpani that goes on. It's just it's I think without putting words into Brad's mouth, because he talked about all these other songs that McCartney was trying to do during the Beatles, I think he's managed to do it successfully on this song. And because of that, it's never a skip. Brad.
Well, I don't know what to say now, because...
Sorry.
I'll tip a few things out, that like the piano vibe, like especially the intro, I really enjoyed that. The drums, I put here, drums seem to be recorded and rushed, but work perfectly for the song. That's not saying the drumming's bad. Do you know what I mean? I'm saying they're rushed, like you can tell they were put down quickly to help the song arrangement, maybe, because I don't know if people understand, but when you're tracking it and you're doing it all yourself, sometimes you need a beat to record everything down to. Otherwise, you're not going to be in time with each other. So it seems like you quickly rushed the drums to get it done and maybe left them. But the drumming's great. There's some nice vocals. The melody moves with the chords. Of course, McCartney, cool bass line, another cool guitar solo. The twists and turns in the song, like Andrew was alluding to, won't go into all that. But I just put here, not a bad way to end the album, and certainly lifted side 2 for me. And I gave it 8.5 out of 10, never a skip.
Yeah. And look, the bass pulse that's in the song is just that steady pattern, isn't it? Of E flat, C, and a B flat. There's nothing flash and fancy going on. It's just boom, boom. Yeah. It's just fits in there. Yeah, it's just in the pocket. Yeah, I kind of like it, Simon. I'm looking forward to going back to check out that other song that we were talking about, the one that all the critics are saying is deep and meaningful.
No words.
Yeah. I'm definitely looking forward to going to check out that, to see how that fits a little bit more into this album. But was this song ever a single?
No, don't think so.
No.
That's too long. You see, it's 5.5 minutes.
So it was just Band on the Run and Jet were the singles.
Yeah, and remember Helen Wheels, of course, that wasn't on the album.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting conversation.
I was going to bring something up at the end about that, but if you want, I can elaborate.
Yeah, go on. Yeah,
I was
do it now.
I was going to say, in the context of the album, I would have ditched one or two of those songs I wasn't keen on, put Helen Wheels on the album. I would have made it an absolute masterpiece.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it would have done something. Put Helen Wheels on side 2, it would have done something in side 2. For me, the album kind of goes downhill. The first side is clearly the side.
Correct.
What makes it a great one. I think the second side is where McCartney needed a producer. He needed somebody to say no a bit. Yeah. Somebody to just kind of, I think that some of this stuff, I don't think he would have got away with it with George Martin.
Well, a producer would have said what Jim's saying here. Helen Wheels should have been your side 2. Started your side 2, Simon. So that's what the first thing you would have said. Surely.
I'm a Beatles nut, so I'm going to say something
that's
pretty controversial here.
Go on.
Say it, brother.
Prove me wrong.
He needed John Lennon.
I was going to say that too. He needed some grit, in the oyster, didn't he? Yeah.
Because they used to tell each other parts of their songs sucked and they fixed it.
Yeah. Or they'd write a bit for it, wouldn't they? Or do something with it. And do you know what? That occurred to me as well, Brad. And I was going to say that too, is that actually...
It goes the other way too with Lennon, I think.
Yeah.
Lennon could have
used it. Teresa.
Bye, Teresa. Take care.
Bye.
It's no, I completely agree with that. I think it needs George Martin and some grit from John Lennon and the writing bits as well to kind of sharpen those things up and give them a bit extra. And it is interesting that for me, these songs highlighted the fact that that what they had that was so special. You took something in, and then McCartney, one of them would take something in, the other one would to critique it, smoke and mirrors it, and kind of sort it out in a way and make it better, much better, with whatever. And
if we can go back in a time machine, what we should do is leave the wives at home and just put John and Paul and George in a room together.
Okay. So can I share a conversation that I had yesterday with Carl about this and see what you guys think and people in the chat. So we had that same conversation yesterday about the vertical that Paul McCartney does as opposed to the horizontal that John Lennon brings in to the songwriting partnership, and lots of other Beatles nuts have explained that in greater detail than that. But I'm sure that just balances everything that Brad and Simon has just said, guys. But I agree 100% with what Brad said. Then I said to Carl, so what made All Things Must Pass different? Because there was no John Lennon or Paul McCartney on there. And he said, Andrew, most of those songs on that album were written when George was a Beatle in the Beatles. And
had taken them to the Beatles too.
Yes.
And they'd worked on some of them as the Beatles.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you're right, bro.
I personally think that's where you can't displace chemistry. It's like a band is a marriage. And I try to explain this to people who aren't musicians, and they think you can just stick a bunch of like 4 or 5 amazing musicians or good songwriters in a room and it's going to be magic. It's like once in a lifetime you get something like the Beatles happen. That's
for sure.
Truth. Yeah, it's not something that happens every day, is what I'm saying. So, there'll never be another Beatles. There'll never be another Stones. There'll never be another Van Halen. There'll never be another Eric Clapton. Like what I'm getting at is there was a chemistry with the way that John and Paul wrote together, and then apart, they didn't have that other person to push them. So they were their comfort zone. They stayed there. They stayed in their comfort zone as songwriters.
Yeah,
and I think they really pushed each other to be the best. Yeah, at what they did, and some of the masterpieces that we listened to. I mean, George Harrison helped John on some of his songs and never got credit for it. And it goes the other way around too. It's not like that's just what happened in the Beatles. There was the songwriting partnership, and then there was George Harrison and Ringo Starr. That was how it worked.
Mm-hmm.
Good night, Keith.
Yeah, definitely a chemistry.
Cheers, Keith.
You can't displace. It's something that's there. It's like Led Zeppelin were a 4-piece band. Without one member of that band, to me, it's not Led Zeppelin anymore. It couldn't work.
No.
Yeah.
Nope,
The chemistry of putting it's like every amazing songwriting team or partnership, Mick Jagger, Keith Richards, Page Plant, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's a lot of that there. So
yeah, that's one of the interesting things about Paul McCartney is because, there are some great songs in his solo year catalog, his greatest hits, that Wings Across America. There are some great songs, and I've listened to all his albums, and indeed most of us have now, and Spotify gives us that ability, and it's a little bit, and we say this, and we love Eric Clapton on this show, but Eric Clapton has some really bad albums in that mid-70s period, complete, there's a couple of albums that only have, in my opinion, 1 or 2 decent songs on there. So I get what you're saying, Brad. I think you're right. But Paul McCartney certainly has gone on to be, a great composer after the Beatles.
Yeah,
but
in his own right.
In his own right, yeah. But everything that he ever did right through the Beatles, as he said, was just pure magic, wasn't it, Simon? It was certainly a product of the time. Just, everything had to arrive at that point from yeah.
Time Machine would be lovely to go back in, and you could let them, say around that 79 period, 80, after they've had their little lovers break up and they all did their own thing, before if we could just pin Mark David Chapman down, stop him from shooting John Lennon, and then the Beatles get back together in the 80s, and we probably would have had magic.
Absolutely. And look at Crappy Luxuries comment here. I've never thought of that. Cream would not have been Cream if Ringo were the drummer.
No.
Absolutely. Could you imagine Ringo playing Toad? Absolutely not.
No. So there is a chemistry when there's those magic moments in history where bands get together and all of a sudden it's like it's meant to happen. It's like the everything aligned to be the right way, yeah. And with the way that Lennon and McCartney wrote together from the early days, they wrote like, I've got this idea, and then they'd play it, and the other one would go, yeah, that's good, or try this, or that sucks, get rid of that. They're really honest with each other. And I think it brought the best out of it. Like healthy competition at first, yeah?
Yeah. And they were brothers too. They wanted to, what they were working on, they wanted to be successful as a group. They wanted success, and nothing wrong with that.
McCartney kind of acknowledges a lot of this now, I'm sure. When he what's that episode on Netflix with Rick Rubin as the producer?
It's amazing. Yeah.
I reckon we should even do
McCartney 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's it. And you can see McCartney's not a solo artist in that he's a fan and he's listening to the things. He's acknowledging the brilliance that was the Beatles of them together. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And Jazz is right too. It's not only the 70s. Old Sock is a horrible, horrible album. And I've said that before here on the show. I remember running through red lights to go and buy that album, that CD, and listening to it driving. And I just about did a Doug. I should have thrown it out the window.
You mean you weren't put off just by the title? I think I'd be having second thought if I saw an album called Old Sock. Some people need to be told, I think I'd be having third thoughts about buying an album, or even that was called Old Sock.
Well, apparently,
terrible title.
We've got David Bowie to thank for that, because David Bowie suggested, that he called, because it's like an old sock.
And unfortunately, all of his ideas weren't brilliant.
No, and one day, one of my co-hosts is going to recommend that we rank that album.
Oh, you just ran the lure out because you want to do it. That's why.
No,
you don't want to take responsibility.
You mean 5? Well, I'll tell you. Well, let's do it now. With 2 skip always.
Yeah, there's not an endearing song on there.
Is there not anything on it of any use?
I've only listened to that album twice.
Wouldn't it be funny to do it just for the hell of the ratings of the show?
But yeah, Jazz is right though. It's and isn't it great that you can get to that stage in your career, Brad, where you can just dish out what you want?
Yeah, I don't want to go anywhere near an album that's called Old Sock anytime soon.
Smelly Sock is more like well, that's
Helena,
that's right.
I take your point, but it's yeah.
Well, let's drop the sock topic.
Yes, quick. Yes.
Skip.
Yes, absolutely. But again, that's what I think. I think that this album is great, but it's got a great first side. I think the second side is not so great, and would really, in retrospect, needs other things like a producer, John Lennon, somebody in there to give a bit of grit to McCartney, and not and say that's not good enough. Go and rewrite that. Do this. One of those things. Thank you, Gretch. Yes, dear me.
So, I would say, if I could have possibly ditched, I can't remember which song I thought was the worst one now. Which one was it?
Mammonia, wasn't it?
Yeah, bit ditched out and put Hell on Wheels on. I reckon that would have
lifted the second side.
Second side would have been Mickey Mouse.
Yep.
Yeah. I think that's probably true, to be honest. I'm surprised they didn't put it on. But if he clearly had the idea that he wasn't going to release any singles from it, then and then he released it as a single, then he wasn't going to put it on the album, which you could get away with in '73.
Yeah. And Helen agrees too. Helena's saying, it's side one that made the money for them. And at the end of the day, rock and roll's about money. Yep.
Yeah. And, clearly, with the 2 hit singles, first and second on the album, they're really great tracks, and, that really makes it. But, it's been really interesting to go back and revisit it and have a look at it again. So I haven't listened to it for a long time.
I love doing it. It was a fantastic exercise, guys. And, when you consider that we were doing it in honor of Paul McCartney turning 80, it gave it some special significance. And I had a couple of conversations with with a couple of cool cats about it, and got some feedback. Nice to know, guys, that we're on track, and everybody in at least the comments with Keith Campbell, Helene, there, Jazz Thunder, Gretch Zeppelin, Hughes, we're all on par, aren't we? I think most of us kind of agree, and but it's still a great album. I love the album.
It's fine. Yeah. Oh yeah,
love it.
and it shows McCartney off in a really good light. All his creative, his melody, his singing, his bass playing, his the arrangements and all of that are great. Yeah. It's it's just we're judging things against the highest standards. And that's the Beatles, if you like, and it becomes hard work then, doesn't it? Because judging them against those things. But no, it's been great. It's been good, pretty good, and I'm glad we did it to celebrate his 80th birthday.
Yeah,
happy
happy
birthday.
birthday.
All right.
Paul.
Yeah.
Awesome. So just to remind you guys that Brad and I, the Rock Professor, and Jim, and maybe Michael, we're going to do a roundtable review, not a track by track review, but we're going to wait till Nothing But the Blues gets dropped. And a week after we've digested that, we're going to get together and we're just going to have like a review of that album and just talk about it as a collective in anticipation for the three of us getting together to do a ranking of the tracks later on. But I think because it's a significant drop, guys, and it's related to obviously a lot of what we do on the channel, I think if we got together with Jim and Michael especially and just discuss the album, maybe some of our thoughts about it with this official release, should be pretty interesting, Brad.
Oh yeah, hell yeah! It sounds sounds great.
And that's on the 3rd of the 7th. So that's so who's got the pick for next week?
You.
Oh dear. Okay,
Yeah.
I might have to have a chat to my co-hosts about that and do something. The key word around here is a collaboration.
Collaboration.
We look forward to doing a collaboration.
Yeah.
Dear. No, I've enjoyed doing this album. So thank you guys for hanging out with us. You guys are awesome. And if you guys want to know what we're going to do for the album next week, check out Brad, check out the Rock Professor. They'll release it on a story, and then once that's done, I'll do that on a show card.
Yep.
Cool. Brilliant. Okay. Lovely. So I say goodbye to everyone in the chat?
Why not?
Yep.
Why not? So Crappy Luxury, thanks. Holly Lewis, of course. Great show. Hope you're all right, Holly. Hope you get your hand fixed. Keith Campbell, of course. Keith, thanks for your comments and stuff. Really good. Helena O'Hara, Hobo Roadie as well. Hugh Caldwell, Jazz Thunder 50. Jim, see you next week or the week after. Gret Zeppelin, Elaine Toll, who's Elaine Vorishine in another disguise. Tim Thomas, thanks Tim for joining. Nelson, of course, Nelson Rodriguez. Have a good week, Nelson. Take care. Teresa, thanks, Teresa. Sleep well. Hobo Roadie. Who else did we have further up the tree? Anybody else by the looks of things? I think that's probably Arvin, of course. Arvin was around earlier. We've made him nod off. So Hugo, well, Teresa, Ellen. Yeah, I think I've got everybody. Oh, Drops Family Garden, of course. Drops Family Garden. Nice to see you. Thanks for dropping by. And Helen Winter as well. Hey, Helen Winter. Hope you're all good. That's all I've got. Maybe one or two others. So, but yeah, thanks to everyone for joining in and tremendous comments again this week. It's been really cool. And we'll see you next week for another dazzling album. Take care. Stay safe. Bye.
Bye.